Good morning. So, based on how long you've been following me, today's project might or might not need an introduction. We are gonna start working on the wrap dress pattern that I teased last week. I am a woman of my promise, or I'm a woman of my word, rather. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm quite excited about it, actually. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I started on a wrap dress pattern way back in October. It completely, utterly failed. I was too cocky. I made a couple of rookie mistakes. I also was working with fabric that was gifted to me, which is never a good idea. So I was a bit under time pressure. So for the sake of having a beautiful outcome, which in the end, it was, I kind of like disregarded the pattern drafting process in terms of it being a commercial pattern. So this is where we're going to pick up again today. I want to produce a commercial pattern that I can sell on my Etsy shop for this wrap dress. The wrap dress is quite simple. It's gonna have a lapel that's gonna wrap all around the neckline. We're gonna have simple sleeves with a slight puff in the shoulder. And for the skirt back then, I made a tulip shaped fit and flare skirt. I'm not so sure if I want to do that this time. Maybe it's just gonna be a flared simple A-line skirt, but we'll see about that. Obviously, we're gonna add pockets this time. This is not the first time, or even in October, that was not the first time I ever worked on a wrap dress. I made this beautiful wrap dress twice, actually, that was inspired by a hand-me-down from my mom, which was from probably 1993, 1994, not entirely sure, that I really loved, but it was too big for me. So I kind of just copied the pattern, made it a little bit smaller, and made these beautiful dresses from it. Today, I'm gonna start at square 0. I'm completely going to rethink the way this pattern is drafted. However, the end look should still kind of resemble that dress. You feel me? Okay. I'm gonna cue a montage now of me starting to work on the pattern draft, and I'm gonna explain what I did later. So let's go. All right, we have a first try. This is what we look like. It is a start. I don't think this is good or bad. It's a wrap top. So far, from what I can tell, it's not necessarily gaping. I could take away a little bit from the length here. Probably wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Also, I want this to be a little tighter, so I'm thinking of giving this a bit of a curve. So from the bust apex down, I'm gonna take it in here, and it's more sculpted. I'm probably gonna lengthen it just a little bit. I know I have a long torso, but still, let's add a little something something. The shoulder was actually too wide in the back. I don't quite know how this happened, so I had to cut it back here, which I've done, and now it looks fine. So this is the start. I think there is more cleavage than last time, which was something that you guys were asking for. Some of you were happy with the little cleavage that I had in the last dress. Others said, no, it needs more cleavage to look more French, which was the objective last time. To give it more cleavage, it needs a curve, which it has now. But for the lapel, it needs a straight edge. That's the pickle that I find myself in. So I need to figure out how to construct this so that you could have both. You could have a simple wrap dress with cleavage without the lapel, or you could add the lapel and this is going to be a separate piece, I'm thinking. So yeah, it just needs a little bit more consideration. Okay, but wait. I just put the pattern on to check a few things, and damn, this fabric is stretching. This is so much bigger than my pattern piece ever was. Look at this. So here is my center front notch, and this is my center front, I think, yeah. So when I put this here, look how much this extended. Oh my goodness. So this fabric is a no-no. A no. Absolutely no. This is something that you work with if you want to, but you're ready to make changes, but for pattern development, to check if things are accurate, this is not it. Okay, lesson learned. I will have to go and pick up some calico from the shop later, just because I need something unstretchy that actually shows me the true shape of the pattern. This makes so much sense. I was like, why is this so big? And I made this from my fitted Amelia bodice, which is quite, you know, true to my own proportions. So I was very surprised that this got so big. It makes a lot of sense now. Okay, can calm down. Right, so I'm gonna have lunch now, and then I'll go pick up some supplies and redo the whole process later. So I have spent the last 2 hours testing and considering and trying things, and I do feel like I'm getting closer to where I need to be. So the idea is that I want to make a bodice that is obviously a wrap bodice that could work without the collar, and have the collar as a extra piece that you could choose to add or choose not to add. So you really would have 2 views of the pattern. I find that probably the most universal solution, and also a solution that is easier to construct because it gives more cleavage, but it also adds the label that we all love. I have now taken a picture of my physical paper pattern pieces, and I'm gonna digitize those now, and I'll play around with the proportions of things, try to smooth everything out, and then I will create the label piece in the digital version, and then maybe from there we can start to think about making a prototype. Don't know what fabric to use for the prototype yet, but that's a fun part of it. So let me get through the difficult part, which is digitizing this baby, and then we get to the fun part. Okay, so I've just been sat here for the last 1.5 hours. I traced the bodice from my paper pieces, and then did tenet level-esque calculations in my brain, where I started to think about what the piece with the label would look like if the label was cut on the front, center front bodice piece. So instead of it being an attachable collar, it's basically the collar and the facing of the collar attached to the front bodice one piece. So we would have 2 front bodice one options, the one without the label and the one with the label. I mean, it looks completely nuts to me anyway. I think it looks kind of crazy. So the only way to find out whether this works or not is to test it. So I'm gonna cut it from some scrap pieces now, sew it together, and see what it looks like. Okay, I've been sewing all day and I've been tweaking all day, and I kind of have not been talking to you just because I'm so focused. Sorry about that. But that's how it goes when you develop a new pattern. You're just in the zone and try to make it work. And it's really just like writing a scientific paper or writing a scientific thesis. You have a theory and you have to test it over and over and over again. And when you find something that potentially is the truth and works, then you have to try and break it. And if you cannot break it, then it's a valid piece of work. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this pattern right now. And I am at a stage right now where I feel like I have my first, version of the pattern that needs to be tested to see if it breaks. And the exciting thing about this is that I actually realized that a crucial pattern piece was missing, which is the collar piece in the back, basically. It's like the collar stand, if you will. Kind of looks like this. This is obviously just handmade. but this is the thing that goes in here in the curvature of the center back neckline. And now I'm just putting all of these things together, and then we'll see if this was the missing piece to make all of this magically come together. It is the end of this second day of working on this pattern, and I think I've solved the riddle. I've cracked the code. I found the missing piece, which was the collar stand in the center back. This is what enables the collar to lie nice and relaxed around my neck, and I'm so happy this worked out. So this crazy pattern piece, in fact, had some logic behind it. Everything else is good too. I'm quite happy with it. I might extend the back shoulder just a tiny little bit. I think it's missing half a centimeter or so. It needs to migrate forward, but everything else I'm pretty stoked about, and I think this is a very good jumping off point for a prototype. I'm gonna adjust a few things on my digital pattern of this. I'm gonna have a think about the skirt, and then hopefully we can move on to the prototype. But for now, gotta take a break. It's currently 4:15 in the afternoon. Gotta do some yoga and also have to clean up the mess that is my room. So see you tomorrow morning. All right, my friends, it's the next day. Yesterday was actually really quite successful. I got to a point where I cracked the code on this pattern. I feel like I understand now the base construction that needs to happen for it to work well. And I ended up with this piece, which is kind of crazy. This is what we're working with. So this is basically the center front bodice panel plus the collar and the facing for the collar attached. So you don't actually have a ton of pattern pieces, you just have one really weirdly shaped one. But if you fold and sew it correctly, you will get sort of something like this, where you have a collar that folds nicely. Does that make sense? I also added the stand for the collar in the center back to my second center back panel piece. This is the one that's on a fold. So this is your center back center line. And this is the stand that will help the collar, raise in the back and then fold over nicely along your shoulder and neckline area. So what I've done this morning basically is I fixed a few proportion things. So I changed the width of the collar a little bit because I felt it could be a bit wider. I added that stand to the back. And now I think I'm at a place where I could retry making that bodice once again. I don't want to waste any fabric for it just in case. I'm pretty confident this is going to work well, but I still feel like I need to test it once more before I actually go on and make a proper prototype. So I think the best thing to do is to look through my quite extensive fabric stash and see if there's one that I can sacrifice for this bodice, and maybe if there's another one that I want to use to make the actual prototype. If there's not, then I might go out and get some more fabric, because you know me. All right, I decided to go for this polyester crepe, I think it would be, that I purchased at the Stitch Festival a couple of weeks ago. It was very cheap. It was like $4.50 a meter. I have 3 meters of this, so I feel like I'm happy to use that one. So in case it works out, I have something cute to wear, and if it doesn't work out, it's not a complete tragedy. So I'm gonna cut my pieces from that. Good morning. It is a Wednesday morning and I've decided that I need a little bit of a me day today. and I figured I'll try to take you along, see what happens. I had an everything shower, I had good breakfast, I've just been rolling up my hair for a little bit, and I'm going to the hairdresser later. Yes, I'm the kind of person that washes and styles her hair before she goes to the hairdresser. I have found that it somehow helps them understand my hair structure better. Like, I notoriously have issues finding a good hairdresser, and that seems to be because they don't really understand my hair structure. For a European, like middle European standard curly, I have extremely straight hair, meaning like my hair almost dries like this without me doing anything. The second I brush it, it's gonna dry super straight. I have very fine hair as well, but relatively much of it, so a lot of hairdressers don't really know what to do with that. I have actually been told to go to Korean, Chinese, Japanese hairdressers. That's definitely something I'm considering, but today I'm going to the one that I went to last time that cut my hair short. I actually really enjoyed that experience. I think it was great. I'm going to the Blue Tit on Portobello Road. Yes, it's called Blue Tit, as in the bird. Yeah, I am going to go there and see what they're gonna do with my hair today. I don't want to shorten it much. Actually, I quite like the length it has right now, but I'm wondering if maybe I'm gonna do a long curtain bangs and then also some layers, maybe up until here, to give it a little bit of movement. Let's see. I mean, generally speaking, the last like maybe 8 weeks, I felt a little bit in a rut in terms of my beauty game, and that is probably because I just need a good me day. Now I'm gonna do my makeup, and then we'll see where we were at mentally. I am one of these people who like to use concealer all over their face. I don't really like using makeup. I also find it really hard to find makeup that works with concealer. So my daily routine is basically moisturizer, and I use sunscreen every day. I use this Eucerin 50 plus oil control sunscreen. I've been using this for 2 years. It's great, and yes, I even use it in winter. I then go over with a concealer. I have various concealers in various different shades, and depending on how I feel that day, I'm gonna choose the shade and the brand. Today I'm using the Hourglass concealer. I don't actually know what it's called. I think Flawless something. I quite like this one. It's a bit light for me. This is the lightest shade they have, and it's definitely a bit too light, so I actually ordered the second lightest shade yesterday, hoping that it's gonna be a better fit for me. So next up, I'm gonna use the Milk Lip and Cheek Balm in Work, and I've been using this for probably well over a year. The same cartridge. It's not yet gone out, which is insane. For me, because I'm so pale, it's really important to have a good blush game, because otherwise I kind of look a little dead. So this is really working well for me. And I also like to mix it with powder blush as well, so I will put the liquid blush on first and then follow up with some powder blush to really fixate it in place. I look so much more alive already. I recently went to Austria and I bought this super cheap drugstore product by a drugstore that doesn't exist in the UK, and it's a refreshing and fixing spray with panthenol, and sets my makeup really nicely. It just refreshes my face, and I after this don't feel as if I'm wearing anything on my face. I've really been thinking about how could I improve my brow game, because I feel like as I'm getting older, they're getting a little bit more sparse, which I never thought was gonna happen, but here we are. I just grab a little brush, put some hairspray on the brush, and then brush up my eyebrows. I've been trying eyebrow gels and I really dislike them. I also feel like they pick up makeup really quickly, and then you just look like you have a slush of makeup and cream on the eyebrows, which doesn't look very clean. I'm just using hairspray. That's it. Youthful, fluffy eyebrows. I'm just gonna use the L'Oreal Panorama mascara, which is fine. It's not my favorite. I wanted to try it out, and I always kind of like keep myself to one cartridge of mascara. I don't want to like go overboard. I already have like 7 concealers, so I don't want to go with like 7 different mascaras as well. Yeah, it takes quite a long time to get it on right. All right, so just put on a little bit of lip gloss. That's also not a UK brand, so I like this one because it doesn't really look like I'm wearing much. And that's that, and I already feel so much better. Bit of a glow up. That was necessary. Now let's see what it looks like when I take out these curlers. I think this is gonna work so much better with a bit of a few layers in my hair, but not bad. It's gonna all like go away again when I go to the hairdresser anyway, so Let's do a before and after. This is what I look like when I do my own hair, and usually I do not look like that when I go to the hairdresser, so we will see. I bought a really cute hat, and it's really funny how all the Americans in the UK, well, all the Americans in London, are in Notting Hill. I'm not sure why that is. They're all either in Notting Hill, Marylebone or Chelsea. But Notting Hill is definitely a hotspot for them. This is the not so well-known side of Notting Hill. It's Westbourne Grove, and it's really cute. It has the Cezanne store over there, and it has the Reformation store over here, which is where I'm going now to do a little bit of shadow shopping. I absolutely love that red dress. I think I have to recreate it. It's just too good. And I also loved the white dress with the wide skirt. I love the idea of the other white dress, but that one was just not very well made. And the funny thing was that they forgot to take out the basting stitches, the gathering stitches for the skirt of the red dress. Same girl, same. Hello there, you're still here, that's good. It's a couple days later since I last spoke to you. I am currently in the process of creating a skirt pattern for my bodice pattern. The bodice pattern that I showed you last is still working brilliantly. Alright, so this is where we are at with this top, and I am really quite pleased, I have to say. Now that the sleeves are in and the belt is actually attached and I can close / wrap up the top as it's supposed to be, I can actually see its true shape, and it really is looking the way it's supposed to be looking. The lapel can now really drape nicely in front. That also reveals a little bit more cleavage, which I'm quite happy about, because before it was really quite, you know, uptight like this. Now it just falls a little bit more nicely. Now, I would not say that this is escaping. I still believe that this is the way it's supposed to be. That's the intention of the design. So it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, which I'm pleased with. One thing that I'm noticing is that the sleeves have the shape I want them to have, but they're smidge tight. So I'm going to extend them and make them a little bit wider and also give them more volume in the shoulder area. That's also going to help with the restricted movement that I'm experiencing right now. So I feel like once the sleeves are a little bit bigger, that's going to go away as well. But yeah, I'm quite happy with this. I think it has something a little 1935, 1940-esque about it, which is exactly what I was going for. So let's go and try the skirt. The bodice is still at the state where I left you off at, where I have the collar sussed out. I made a few tweaks to it, and now I want to test the skirt patterns. I'm currently in the process of coming up with coming up with a skirt pattern. It's going to be in panels, it's going to be flared, there's going to be a short and a long version, and I want to try and cut the short version and test it today on the same fabric that I used for this bodice mock-up. And once I've done that, we can move on to the more fun things in life, which is have a think about fabric choices for an actual prototype. So let's go. So I now have a version of the skirt pattern that I think could potentially work. And I'm now thinking about what's the next best step to do. And I think it's that I have to run some errands, I have to get some stuff for lunch. And while I'm outside, I'm gonna go and have a browse through some of the fabric stores. I want to see if I can find a black polka dot fabric, because I think that could be really cute for the version of the dress without the label. I do have some options in my stash for the version of the dress with the label. I'm gonna go have a bit of a browse for the fabric shops. I'm gonna cut the skirt pattern from this fabric to complete the version that I'm making right now, and then we will see where we're at the end of this day. Alright, it's a couple of hours later now. I've printed and put together all of my skirt pieces. I have the short and the long version in one piece here. So what I'm going to do is I'll cut them off so I can make the skirt for this prototype that I'm making right now to test the skirt. And then later I'm going to keep these pieces and I can stick them back together if I want to do the long version. And I was quite successful with my fabric search. And I bought this cotton here, black with a white polka dot on it, which I think is very cute. And I'm excited to make a version of the dress with this. But first I need to test the skirt, so let's get going. So I've now serged the entirety of my skirt, and now I can pin it together with my top. I'm going to reveal this to you in a few seconds, and then you can see where we're at with this wrap dress. There is obviously another version of this dress without the label, which I'm not going to do in today's video. I'm not sure if this is going to be part of another design vlog, or if you are going to get to see this once the pattern is released, to kind of keep the suspense, you know. I will do, once again, a pattern test run with this dress. So as always, if you would like to be included in this test run, make sure to follow me on Instagram and have a look at my stories, because this is usually where I do testicles. And now, without any further ado, let me show you what this dress looks like done, and then we can debrief.
Maybe it's a matter of time. Maybe it's a matter of time. Funny are the times we've had. Always made me feel kind of blue. I know, you know. It all feels so good from a distance.
Alright guys, so it's Friday night. I just wrapped up editing this video, but I want to give you my final thoughts on the project as it stands right now, and then also just generally on this video, because I know it was a bit of a wild ride. I don't usually do vlog type videos like this, but I thought I'll try something new and take you along. I mean, I've done a couple before, but never really picked it up. Anyways, this is kind of what a week in my life looks like right now at this point in time. I'm glued to my desk most days, and then I do something to kind of get myself out of the rut somewhere along the line. So this week it was Notting Hill Salon Day, and I feel much better for it. Right, so the state of the wrap dress as it is, I think is quite good. I'm really quite pleased with it. I'm very excited to get going and make it in this black polka dot cotton that I purchased. Again, I don't know if you are going to see this in form of another design vlog or if you're going to see it once the pattern actually drops and launches. If you would like to be considered as a pattern tester for this dress, do follow me on Instagram, which is where I do my pattern tester calls. And that's it for today. Again, thanks so much for letting me be a part of your day, and I see you next time. Don't worry, I always got something fun planned, so hope you'll tune in. Read me in the comments. Bye.